This is Lady Anne, owner of KPNL Radio and hostess of the Caravan Library of Lore, and I support Tessa. As an experiencer myself, I have filed my own reports with them, and the professionalism and heart they have shown my case goes above and beyond. If you have had an experience, I cannot recommend Tessa enough.
Hi, this is Ernie Hudson, Winston Zedmore from Ghostbusters. I want to let you know that Ryan Stacy, he's created the Experiencer Support Association, TESA. You can check them out at www.tesacan.org. Now, they investigate paranormal, UFO, and provide support to experiencers. But you can check them out at, like I said, www.tesacan.org and see for yourself if they're really Ghostbusters. I can tell you this, they are a non-profit organization. Good luck, have fun, and keep it busted.
Good evening. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association. TESS is a UFO, paranormal, and paracryptid investigation association. We investigate everything belonging to the global phenomenon linked to highly strange and unexplained experiences. We also connect experiencers with other experiencers, creating a safe, positive environment to engage and discuss this phenomenon without judgment, criticism, or retribution. From the land of the white rolling sands, on the southeasterly tip of Georgian Bay, to all of you listening around the world, as we simulcast live on KPNL Radio, we salute you. If you want to go back and listen to our previous episodes, go to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be instantly notified when we are live, not only for these episodes, but every single element Tessa has to offer. On our website, tessacan.org, we have something for everyone. We have support for experiencers, data for independent researchers, and places to advertise for professional partners. Sorry about that. Hello, everybody. Today is Thursday, October 14th, 2021, and I, Ryan Stacy, am your host this evening. I am a licensed private investigator, I am a citizen journalist, and I am the Director of Investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. Remember to super chat, just click the $ next to your name in the comment box. All donations go back towards the mission. If you're catching this on the replay, please consider becoming a member and unlock bonus content, including behind the scenes and extended footage on new project developments and investigations. Just click the big blue button that says join. We have a very, very special guest tonight. Our guest for season 3, episode 32 is Gary Voorhis. Voorhis, just like Jason. I just made sure that I'm pronouncing that right. And so what a good time for that. So Gary has a background in a mechanical engineering and working as an electronic and RF technician. He was a fire controlman and, I don't know how to pronounce, Aegis Computer CEC technician in the United States Navy. His responsibilities included the operation, maintenance, and repair of the Aegis weapon systems and non-Aegis senior systems to test and evaluate experimental upgrades to the Aegis Baseline 6.1 and Cooperative Engagement Systems of CEC for short. During his time on the U.S.S. Princeton, Voorhis had the task of security and inventory of top secret and classified information and materials, including being trained on the W.A.S.P, so W.A.S.P military recon U.A.V for the Pacific Fleet during Operation Enduring Freedom in Operation Iraqi Freedom. On the week of the 14th of November 2004, he was an eyewitness of the U.S.S. Nimitz tic-tac event. As a result of this experience, he was interviewed by Chris Mellon for the History Channel show Unidentified Inside America's UFO Investigation. And today, Voorhis is the president of U.A.P Expeditions. The mission statement for U.A.P Expedition is as follows. The mission, duty, and purpose of U.A.P Expedition Organization, so UAPX, are to identify, classify, understand, and provide a public repository of knowledge on unidentified aerial phenomenon. UAPX, with preliminary data analysis, supports the construct that if and when individual UAP incidents are resolved, they will fall into one of 5 potential explanatory categories: airborne cluster, natural atmospheric phenomenon, government or industry development program, the foreign adversary system, and classifications which will require intense scientific study to explain appropriately. Gary, put on your tinfoil hat. We are about to go down a rabbit hole. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for being here. So we're going to start the show with an icebreaker from Tim the D guy Morrison. So I'm just going to play a little clip here. So what Tim does is he will provide me an icebreaker question, and I'm looking at it for the first time, and I'm going to ask you. And we'll just start the show that way. So his question for tonight is, what would you do if you found yourself in a haunted hotel room?
Go to sleep.
You just go to sleep. No, you don't believe it?
I know it's boring. No, it's not that I don't believe in the paranormal, but most of the time I'm not affected by them. So
I'm not affected by it at all whatsoever.
So I'd probably hang out, get creeped out for a little while, get super tired, and then go to sleep.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just check in.
I actually did get to sleep in a haunted hotel.
Okay.
The famous hotel from the song Hotel California.
Okay.
Which is actually the Hotel del Coronado on Coronado Island. I got to stay there in the actual haunted room, and you have to sign a waiver to sleep there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
what are you waiving?
Nothing happened to me. I literally waited up till about 2 a.m. and then passed out from exhaustion. But that's been the way of things with me. Everybody around me experiences a lot more than I do.
Except for the Nimitz, you happen to experience one of the most significant sightings that we'll get into. Before we get into that, one of the questions I had prepped up, which I talked about with you before the show, is, and I'll preface here. Like as an observation, there are other witnesses to this Nimitz event that have made it in mainstream media, and Fravor and Dietrich, and then we have Lou Elizondo, all those things. Never had any of them on the show, and I'm curious to know why someone like yourself has not been as readily or as is not in the limelight like these guys. What makes you're a witness to this most significant event? So why them and not you? I'm curious to that.
Probably 2 reasons. One, I don't really care about it. Okay. And 2, it's I wasn't a pilot, and my there's nothing other than operating the weapon system and the radars. I didn't dogfight the thing. I got to see this thing through big eyes at 15 miles away, not up close and personal. dogfighting it, and then I saw it on radar, and then I got to see the full uncompressed version of the video. But I mean, and that's good for some people, but when it comes to what I found when it comes to Hollywood and these TV shows, it's all about the bang for the buck. So a pilot's going to get bigger bang, an ex-special forces guy that used to run a massive UFO investigation for the government. That's kind of a bigger deal than I am. I mean, I'm not. We'll call. If it smells like a duck, quacks like a duck. It is a duck.
Yeah, but see, I would disagree with that. So, I understand how the media works. I understand how that does, and I understand that
the media are two different things. You're interested in the actual meat of the subject. You're interested in hearing all sides of it. Mm-hmm. They're not. They're just interested in ratings, man. And that's just how it goes.
Now I have to take the tension a little bit away from you, but to lead into that, I agree with you that it's all about ratings. But does that mean they're lying, or does that mean they're fabricating? What can we actually believe?
Honestly, from what I've seen on everybody that's come forward in the mainstream media, they are telling the truth based on what they know. It's I can only tell you from my perspective what I remember 20 years ago, and what I know and what I've found out since then. So everybody's basically telling it based off of what they know. Fravor, in his situation, he bases everything off of the fact that he had a position that was relatively higher in the in the echelon in the chain of command, so he figured he would have been briefed on absolutely everything. Fortunately, that wasn't the truth, but to him it was. So that's just it. Everybody literally is telling it based off of their own personal experience.
Okay.
And generally, they all match up pretty close. The only difference is things that other people couldn't know, like data recording taken off our ship or data recording taken from another squadron. Things like that. Sorry, nobody else but those people are going to be notified about that stuff.
Okay. No, I appreciate that, and I understand that. So as an investigator, when I'm looking for evidence, media is circumstantial evidence, and this video hasn't changed. So there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of interpretation.
I'd say the testimony is good from the actual people. Yeah. The way that they cut it may not be. Perfect example is even the episode that I was on of Unidentified was really good, except for one key fact. They made it seem like I personally witnessed the underwater event, when literally right after the statement that they cut off was, I made sure that they understood that was secondhand information that was told to me by somebody, but they didn't bother to add that in. They had a narrative about an underwater USO, and that's it.
That's what they want to lead, right? So if it leads, it bleeds, the media and all these other things. So I guess from my perspective, is it's as an investigator, it's hard for me to accept the media version as evidence because there's money involved, because there's this and that involved. That doesn't mean they're lying, but it's just there's motive there that could twist their arm to tweak and do all these other things. So again, with you not being in that, as you mentioned right at the beginning, you don't care about that attention. What do you care about then in terms of that? Because you are still an experiencer. You are important.
Instead of stressing about what the event was or how it could possibly have happened or how it could even be possible, I just accepted that this was a new reality for myself and spent the last 20 years studying physics and engineering instead. Now, of course, I didn't have money to go to college, so anything I know is self-taught.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, except you don't have the nice little piece of paper that says you're a doctor.
Yeah, but you only need that if it, that's credibility, right? So there's status, and that's a problem. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. You're a witness. You are a witness to the same event.
But it gives me a leg up because I do have PhDs on my staff. So they are some of the most amazing minds that I've met in almost my entire life. I've probably only met maybe one or two other people that had that similar amazing mind that these guys do. So I'm very, very blessed to have these guys on my team.
I can relate to that. We have experts on our team too that have credentials that that supersede mine as well, and everyone has an ace in a place, and we work together as a team. But I just want to emphasize again, and I appreciate your humility, but you are just as important as everybody else because you witnessed this. So your perspective is also important. So I'm curious to know if you're willing to just bring me back to 2004 from your perspective. What happened?
Well, I was introduced to the entire event actually already in a really bad mood. I'd been up half the night on a mid-watch and then got woken up early, which is never a good day. So what that means is that I had a really late night watch that ended at 4 a.m. and then I got woke up at 6 a.m.
Okay.
to start working because I was the only computer tech on board.
Okay.
The problem was this unknown aircraft that we were tracking. They wanted to make sure that there was nothing wrong with the systems and things like that. So I'm outside being grumpy, pissy, generally not that great of a person, and smoking a cigarette at the time. And, I was bullshitting with one of the other technicians in one of the other areas that, saying that we're going to have to take down the spy computers later to do diagnostics, because they got to try to clear up some clutter and some false tracks. And I'm like, all right, not common, but it's a simple thing. It takes a little while and it's a procedure, but it just requires me to do a lot of resetting the servers or the computer servers over and over and over.
So what was the instruction that was given to you when you were woken up? Just like a regular routine check, or was there an alarm?
Believe it or not, nobody said shit to me. I actually found out about it while I was smoking. I was woke up for just because I was the only computer technician. There was no other reason. You have to be on standby. We're running. They were gonna be doing anytime that they're doing any active missions or they're doing any type of training missions. I have to be ready and to go to reset any of the hard drives, any do data recording. There's a plethora of jobs I had. So
okay.
It's just a matter.
Did anybody say UFO? Like, what is the key word to describe what was happening?
Nobody would have actually said UFO. It would have just been an unidentified. It would just you wouldn't have said UFO just because of the stigma with it. Just unknown. All it would be just an unknown doing 100 knots due south. Coming down from the channel, following the coast, and it's not engaging. So it's a non-hostile target.
Okay, that's good. That's a positive. We don't want it. We don't want that to be hostile.
Yeah, honestly, it never was hostile and even after we did our interrogations, which basically then did stir the pot with one of them or multiple of them. I still haven't gotten that question answered, but I know for a fact at least one of them was engaged with Commander Fravor.
Mm-hmm. And because he engaged with them, right?
Yeah. So he engaged with them and then realized that, well, he was a kid in a candy store, and the candy store, he was about to be schooled, mm-hmm. And that's
from the pilot perspective, that makes sense as well. I mean, the panic is all there. So what I'm seeing is a daily routine. So it's just like I have previous military experience myself. I was an infantry soldier, so like I understand the mechanics around.
Yeah, think. Yeah, just think of the anytime that you were undermanned, and I know
fire picket or something. Yeah.
Well, I know infantry. It's like one day you could be burning, shit in a barrel with diesel, and the next minute you could be out on patrol for 2 days. So mm-hmm. I mean, you're kind of the jack of all trades. You're whatever they need at the time. And mm-hmm. on a ship like mine, everybody has a specialty. Mm-hmm. On a ship, it's a much different animal. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a specialty. The very few people that are undesignated, which would be technically our version of the infantry. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, that's the Marines for us,
which is a little more advanced, though. That's a little super. Yeah. You guys can.
Well, Marines, first in, last out. We got some hardcore bullet sponges, but
thanks.
Yeah, but they it's if you're the only person on that ship for that specialty, you are going to be working a lot, you know. And to be fair, a lot of it's sitting around waiting, which seems to be a very popular thing when you're not actually fighting.
So how, in terms of this video, I don't know what you can say, you know, this is just the video that became public, and we a lot of us understand how that came through in the relationships that brought that to fruition. Yeah, go ahead.
So in a longer video, the biggest difference is you're going to notice that it has about twice the resolution that you see in the current clip that you have available for you. Now, most of the meat and potatoes of the video is actually in that clip, but what you don't see is some of its maneuvering, which you can really see that it's not just him trying to reacquire, but it's actually the actual craft maneuvering, and you don't see it a lot because of how fast this thing is. You know, you just all of a sudden it'll just bank over and just out of frame, and then he'd move the jet and then reacquire it with FLIR, and then so you see a lot of that back and forth, and then you actually got to see it turn a little bit, so you get to see a little bit more of its shape. But other than that, you don't see a whole lot more than you.
So based on what you've seen, that is more than what's been released to the public.
Oh yeah.
What is your analysis on what this object is?
If I had to just wildly guess, which is still really all I can do at this point, is I believe that it was an unmanned drone of some type. I mean, I don't know of the origins. I don't try to mix words about whether it's aliens or whether it's unknown or a breakaway civilization. I think I'm up to like 78 different, slightly different variants of what this possibly could be over the year.
First too.
Yeah, I mean, but when it comes down to it, the things we know is that it was colder than the air around it. It had a universal heat signature. It could do up to Mach 25. It made no sonic booms. It was quiet, very, very quiet. And it had no flight surfaces. It had no propellers, no wings. And if I had to guess, at the very minimum, this has to be 1,000 years ahead of current commercial technology. And that's current as of today. And that's
how long have you been in the military for? Are you still active or?
No, I actually got out right after this event. So I got out right at the end of 2004, early 2005, and then ever since then I honestly, there wasn't anything they could offer me to reenlist.
Okay, no worries. So so from your perspective, you wake up, you get an alarm, you respond. To adjust the.
Well, that's just it. There was no rush. We had been tracking it for a couple of days already, and we were going to.
So how come there was no panic? How come there's no panic? That's where I'm concerned about. When I listen to the video, it doesn't sound like he's alarmed. He's excited, which is great. But wouldn't that not be threatening if we didn't know what it was?
I'm sorry, I was reading Jeremy's comment. He's a
Gary
we tend to go into each other's interviews and heckle each other.
Yeah, no worries.
But
Jeremy, you owe me an interview.
Yeah, he's with his daughter. They're at some type of event for his daughter right now, so he couldn't make it.
No worries.
But what was the question? I'm sorry, he threw me completely off.
Yeah, no, where was I going with that? So I was just saying, I actually lost my train of thought. That distracted me too.
Oh well, move on.
So let's just move on. Your perspective. The alarming. So for me, from my perspective as an observer, seeing the video and hearing the reaction, I was just a little confused or concerned that if it was a threat, that reaction to me it was very friendly. So it would suggest to me that there was some information. It was comfortable. It was familiar. So why do you think they weren't?
I thought of that, and I can everything that I can say about this is speculation because I was low man on the totem pole. So I would have zero access to any person that could actually give you that answer.
Okay.
But the only thing I can give you is my professional opinion from being in the military, and I think the big thing is that no captain wants to be the captain that tracked UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's generally one of those things, well, if we ignore it, maybe it'll go away and we don't have to deal with it. Well, it got to the point where we were about to do flight operations in that same area where we had these things flying. And they were also coming and going. It wasn't just solid tracks for the entire time. I mean, there'd be periods of time where there was nothing flying.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, all of a sudden they'd appear again. And then it'd be just a nice solid track doing about 100 knots from the channel going due south. You know, so now that's a channel between Catalina Island and California.
Yeah.
And then flying down towards Baja, Mexico.
So the 3 clips that we have is of the same object?
No.
Okay.
The Google and the Go Fast are from different events.
Okay. And you weren't witness to those, only witness to the...
Just the tic-tacs, yep.
Just the tic-tac.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And the longer video that you mentioned, is that of the tic-tac or of the other ones? Okay.
So now, there's also rumored that every single one of those planes had gun cameras that were actually rolling. So there's possibly dozens of videos. They will never probably see the light of day. So, I mean, I don't mind talking about that. So that's something that everybody needs to remember, that every single one of these airplanes that were in the air, there is a strong possibility every single one of them had film rolling.
Yeah. So from an investigator perspective, I mean, like if a crime happens in front of my house, the first thing I would do is I would go out and I would look to see what businesses nearby have cameras, and I would look and I want to collect evidence from every single camera that has it. So it's so that is an interesting point, that there must have been more footage. So I can understand that all of it some of it's been withheld, but some of it's been released. So if there's a 20-minute video, is it 20 minutes? That's what I'm hearing. Like it
was about a 10-minute video, the one I saw.
Okay.
But
so a longer video
that could have even been clipped, because I didn't watch it live. So
why, if you're gonna release a video, why would they not just release the whole thing?
There's probably something on it that's still classified. And even that, you know, is only a speculation. Most of the time they keep
something about the object or some other military.
Either something about the object, maybe something about the meta information on the actual film itself. It could have isolated a certain capability that we have that they can't let a foreign power know that we have. You know, there's a half a dozen reasons why they would only isolate this. Plus, the film that was released was such poor quality that really, other than just being sensationalized and seeing general, you know, I mean, the amazing thing about the film is you can tell in the FLIR that it's a universal heat signature. You can tell that it has no wings or propellers. You can tell that it doesn't have an obvious engine. You know, so those things are amazing. But that's about it. That's about. You can also, there's one other detail that if you really study the picture, you'll also notice there's almost like a halo around the object. There's pixels that are weird around the object when you're looking at the FLIR, and that also denotes some type of field around the thing. So that's something that it took a while for me to really scrutinize that, to say that for sure that's there.
On that day, did you actually have eyes on it, or you're only looking through the machines and the measurements?
The eyes on it that I had was pretty insignificant, because it was at such a vast distance. Unless the thing moved in a weird way, I couldn't tell whether it was a ship's light on the horizon or whether it was an actual object, other than the fact that it was at the same bearing and relative elevation of where the object we were tracking was.
Okay. I have another question, but there's a question from one of our members. Chantel asks, when Gary Voorhis Jr., in your opinion, was the quality of the released video reduced by half intentionally?
No. That compressed video was emailed off the ship literally the next day. I can guarantee that video has been floating around the internet ever since the event, and either has just surfaced here and there. I've seen it on and off over the years. And obviously I could verify its authenticity, but without a chain of evidence like Lou and the guys that were with him actually got the Navy to admit, it was basically a useless video until it was actually authenticated.
Okay, so let's talk about the handling of the evidence. So from my understanding, that video is from a camera on the plane on the fighter jet.
It was a clip that was actually compressed and emailed to a lot of the senior staff. It was kind of one of those
for
things
observation for review.
Yep.
Okay, and then how does that get from that point? How does that happen to be a
somebody
leak?
had to have downloaded it and put it over to the non-secret side of our LAN and email it out standard on the regular email.
Now, how are they able to do that without the government knowing?
Well, I mean, we were using Windows ME at the time, I think. I mean, really wasn't really super difficult to circumstance, to get around that type of stuff. Proxies were kind of a joke to most people that knew just a little bit about computers.
So the security protection that we assume the government has doesn't actually exist. It's not as sophisticated as
other than the fact that you go to Leavenworth if you get caught. So that's a pretty good deterrent.
So now that the video's been released, there's no metadata to trace it back to track to the original person who leaked it?
That's correct, because it would have been wiped. Every copy I've ever got my hands on has never had any of the original metadata.
Okay. So I mean, in terms of like how often does that happen?
Lou and those guys may have gotten the original copy and it had metadata, but I personally never seen it.
No, I understand as well. So like that's interesting for me as an investigator. I like to understand the source because I know how the video file is transferred. So there must be metadata. If someone wiped it, then that's deliberate. But why would somebody wipe it? What would the intent be for that? To cover themselves, or
probably? I know I wouldn't want to go to jail for the rest of my life.
No, exactly. So observation of the video itself. You mentioned that it might have been a drone. So if it's not American, whose would it be?
Don't know. Okay. I mean, I couldn't even really speculate because we don't know what's going on within our own government. I mean, hell. Our own president doesn't really even know what's going on from day to day. So how can we expect us to know exactly what these things are? I'm not even really trying to make a joke, but it's just kind of funny that way.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I'm just trying to take you back to that moment. Like, I'm trying to understand you as the soldier in that time of the event. So there wasn't any panic. There wasn't any concern. It was just a routine event. If that's a routine thing, and if these things are seen, like, have you seen anything else like this that hasn't been released? Anything that's similar that you could compare to?
Yes, recently.
Okay, all right, let's talk about that.
I can't yet, but I have seen an object that was very similar to this, and it was located in a much different place in the United States. And what I can say is that it was filmed. You will get to see it. Unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, it was a mainstream media outlet that did record it. But it should, for how amazing it was, it should make mainstream. It should make the air. But if not, after the episode airs, I'll be able to talk all about it. So, but it. Very, very, very similar. I got the same feel. I get the same intuition about it, that it was more of a form versus function. It had no windows, no flight controls, no nothing. It almost felt like an unmanned reconnaissance vehicle.
Okay. So still,
whether it's still from here or not, it still felt like it was unmanned.
We can't speculate to where the origin is until we capture it. So if it's not considered a threat, then the Army's not responding. You guys didn't fire any weapons at it, right? You guys just
we didn't have any weapons on board at the time.
Okay. If you had weapons on board, would you have fired at it?
Not a clue. It's all the chain of command, man. You know that.
Yeah. No, I get it. So that's why
basically, the grunts like me or low-level guys like me, we follow the feeling that we get from our chain of command. So
I
when
totally
they
get
don't take
it. And the chain of command controls these things and they run things, but we're still human beings. That's why I'm trying. That's why I'm asking these questions, try to understand the human element behind it. Because if you weren't panicked, if they weren't panicked, if Fravor wasn't panicked when he locked onto it, you know, it evidently whatever it wasn't threatening. So if it is a UF, go ahead.
The only time I ever had a really strong emotional response is seeing the video for the first time. The first time, because prior to that, it's just, you know, a track. It's just something on the horizon. It's not a physical object that I can make a emotional contact with exactly what I'm seeing. And then when I saw the video for the first time, your brain kind of goes numb, kind of like when you see a really bad car accident or train wreck TV or something that's really just, you can't wrap your mind around, like, no, this isn't happening. This isn't what I think it is it? You know, and then, you know, you're looking around seeing if everybody else is seeing what you're seeing, and everybody's like, looks the same way you do. And it really wasn't until the second time through watching it before I really kind of got out of that shock and, okay, so this is reality now, roger that. And then I started actually looking at the video.
On the day of the event, while that all happened, you could barely see with your eyes, but you looked at the machines. So what did you see on the machines? What did you see on the instruments?
Well, on the radar returns, you basically you see an object, and it has a label on it, and it's basically labeled and has a certain nomenclature that says that it's an unknown object, you know. And then you can also see whether or not it has any general emissions. You're not going to see any of the the emissions like the Ws are looking for and things like that, electronic emissions, you know, like the electronic warfare guys are looking for. But like there should be a transponder, a beacon. It should be squawking identification, friend or foe. You know, it should be doing a lot of things that these things aren't doing. And if it was just one object, well, you could kind of chalk that up to maybe there was a hang glider. Actually, a hang glider would be, although we could track that, it would be filtered out. That we would know it was there, and we would mark it as such, and it would be very obvious of what the thing was. Its profile, its radar profile, its return, everything like that would come back as a hang glider.
Yeah, because you got to rule out known objects as well too, so that way you're not wasting your time looking at things that are normal, like birds and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, it's just the thing that surprised me with this whole thing as an observer myself, looking at this, like the reaction is just, I expected it to be huge. So that's why
everybody, that's the shit. Everybody expects everybody was running around the ship going, oh my God, UFOs, you know, but really it's
right, but that kind of leads more to the possibility of this being a machine, a drone created by the government. So why would your own government, even Canada, maybe it's Canadians made it, who knows, we'll take credit for it, sure. But like, you know, someone has to know what it is.
Why would they fly it against their own people?
Yeah, why would it be there in the first place?
Why would they give untested vaccines to soldiers? Why would they test LSD on the public? Why would they literally purposely kill certain people in our, you know, why would they do all the horrible things that they've done to their people already?
So it's testing and experimenting and all these other stuff.
I have no doubt that if they wanted to test an experimental system that they acquired technology through some other means, whether they mine this thing up out of the Arctic or they or a thing crashed in the desert.
I totally love how you just went to there. So that now we're just going to go into another rabbit hole there too. So if it is tested, right? If it's extraterrestrial and they have control and they're benevolent, like they'll just show up and they'll do it on their own. But if it was designed purposely to test everybody on that vessel, and that's how you reacted, then it's put out to the public to see how we react to it and all these other things. Now we're here. If that was the test, what is the end game? What do you think is the reason to test us for that?
A narrative, another set of controls. Give everybody a little bit of truth, and then hide behind it. You know, I mean, best way to control things is to continuously go with the flow of society. Society wants UFOs, give it to them.
Yeah, and so we admitted to it. It's out there. Pentagon is now using UAP. They've come disclosed with what they've been doing. Now in 2022, they're going to have a specific department dedicated to the research of that. Like it's a cover up for the cover up, as far as I'm concerned.
Plus, I mean, if we're worrying about UFOs, we're not worrying about hyperinflation. We're not worrying about piss poor management of our government. You know, we're not worried about worldwide wars. We're not worried about people dying in Afghanistan. We're not worried about the fact that we have civilians that were left in a foreign country that's hostile to Americans. You know, we're not looking at those real subjects that need to be addressed if we're looking at these non-hostile entities that are flying
So
around.
are you suggesting that this is part of a distraction?
I think it always has been. I think that, yes, there is absolutely a phenomenon going on. There's absolutely a 1,000-year ahead of us technology flying around, but I think they've already come to the conclusion they can't do a damn thing about it. So let's go ahead and use it.
So if they can't do a damn thing about it, then why doesn't that damn thing reveal itself to us at its own will and accord?
I don't know. Why don't we tell rats exactly who we are?
Yeah, true. Right, so we might not be
there's
important.
A lot of horrible answers, and there's a lot of magnanimous
no, I get it,
answers,
and it could be just our ego to think that we are so important enough that we're actually important to these beings.
Plus, if you own a ranch with 1,000 head of livestock, are you going to go around and introduce yourself to all the livestock?
No.
So, are they even going to understand what you say?
Yeah.
They could literally be on such a level of evolutionary level that we couldn't possibly begin to understand anything that they tell us. Never mind just telling us who they are or introducing themselves. And honestly, they may be scared to try to introduce themselves to us, because there's at least 30% of us that would shoot them first. Not saying I'd shoot them, but unless they were hostile towards me. But you rip me out of my house and you experiment on me, I'm going to be pretty fucking hostile.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. So then we get into the abduction phenomenon and all that other stuff too. Do you like? Does this craft at all associate with any? Is it capable of abducting people?
Not a clue. I mean, that's a lot of the reasons. These are a lot of the questions why me and Kevin Day formed UAPX. We had a lot of questions and no answers, and we were getting zero from FOIAs. We were getting zero from the government. So we formed that company just to go get those answers. So
So let's talk about that. So the three of you, where did the idea come from? Just like again, you just mentioned it, but then you guys were like, "This is serious. We really have to do it." So like, what pushed you?
All Kevin Day. Kevin Day called me up and said, "Hey, you want to start a company and go find answers?" And that was literally the beginning of UAPX. That one statement. I said, "Yeah, sure, whatever, man, cool." And so, then I had nothing to do with the company for the next year.
Why?
I was busy. I worked a full-time job, and I have a family. So, and honestly, from what they were telling me, they had everything handled. And then through some personal issues Kevin was having and some things that were going on medically with Kevin, he stepped down for president. So then at that point, I kind of started assessing what was going on and realizing there was a real need to try to get the ball rolling into a direction where we went from planning to an actual action, So that's what we did.
So, all right. So UAP is X is UAP Expedition. So explain to us in your own. Yeah, go ahead.
UAP
so there's a little bit of lag.
Company.
Yeah. Okay. So that company was formed. What exactly does that company do? If I wanted to hire you, what would you do for me?
Well, we currently we're in a transition of re-equipping ourselves with instrumentation, but we are looking to be able to basically drive to location. If you want to do a specific location, be able to drive to that location with 2 vehicles at the minimum, and then be able to deploy sensors throughout as far as we can within miles of that target to try to triangulate any information that we may get. And then we're going to use FLIR data. We're going to use Well, we're going to use a multitude of sensors. I can't go into all of them due to NDA right now, but basically we will use a collection of sensors to be able to sweep and monitor an area for however long you want to pay for. And we would itemize the cost for you at that point. And then, the data itself, if you wanted to work with us, we've learned lessons with our current projects. In the future, anybody we work with is going to have to be able to release that data about as soon as my scientists are ready to go and to release it, out the door it needs to go.
Yeah. So that's the mandate. So you get hired to provide. So you're being paid to provide the service. You're being paid. So the consumer is paying for the time.
Well, we're a nonprofit and we're an individual organization. Eventually, our goal is to be privately funded permanently, so we don't have to deal with Hollywood or anything, and actually provide a two-part system where we have actual hardwired systems similar to like Skyhub and UFO-DAP, and that's consistently getting us data 24 hours a day in certain hot spots. And I'm already talking to certain people that live in certain hot spots to try to get these systems deployed in those places. And then we're also going to have a mobile deployable system where we can do, we can go down to somewhere after we know exactly where to point all our cameras, try to get some very consistent correlating data, try to figure out exactly what's going on, and then from there keep moving forward. So hopefully eventually we can understand, we know exactly where these things are coming from, where they're going, start to denote flight patterns, start to denote, because until we have 24-hour surveillance on this stuff and 24-hour, basically a lot of this metadata is just going to be garbage, but we're looking for when they appear, how fast are they going? Are we able to even track them if they're ripping across the sky? And then develop better and better equipment to narrow it down. So think of it now as we're hunting with a shotgun, and we're trying to work our way down to hunting with a sniper rifle.
So I'm thinking in terms of response time though. Like, so somebody is aware of you, somebody sees something, they call you. You wake up.
Unfortunately, I think that eventually
how fast can you do that?
I think eventually we would be able to have at least a set of boots on the ground within 24 hours once we do have both our vehicles up and running and equipped. Now, and that's about the best as I can guarantee, just because of flights, or if it's local drive time, if we can't find flights within a reasonable amount of time, but we need to actually drive the vehicle to location, well, then it's just going to take time.
Yeah, it's just because it's just difficult, right? Because we don't know, there's a lot of time in between, and then you got to get there. The intent, I'm seeing the intent, I'm seeing the technology, I'm seeing the not just the passion, but the intelligence and the science behind it. But to get to all of these places, like in that moment, before that object disappears, that's difficult.
That's primarily what the standalone systems are going to be for, because they're going to, we're going to be kind of stuck, unless something local happens. Like, I'm not a real big fan of CE5, but these guys really seriously think that they can do this stuff. So I've actually started going to a local group that's pretty legit. That's a nobody over there is preaching any particular person as a savior or anything like that. They're just a bunch of folks doing actual the Princeton method of CE5. So if there's something to it, hopefully within the next couple of months I'll actually have some answers and be able to promote it, or say nothing happened while I was around, and that's basically what I figure is going to happen. There's just too much woo in this, and I'm into it for the non-woo. There's plenty of people looking at the woo, so they can keep the woo.
Can be woo.
I'm going to bring you the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, we want to study it. We want to measure it. So I understand that too.
Yeah. And we may get to a point where we have to deal with the woo, but right now we know for a fact there's physical objects to study, and that's where that's where we're starting.
So have you ever done any situations where like the CE5, that method that was being done while the vehicles were present? Is that something you've done or something you would consider doing? Because that might help you get the evidence instantly.
Yeah, the only thing that I've actually done is I attended the CE5 here locally from where I live. And, like I said, I had to scout it out first. I don't know who these people are. I don't know. I didn't know what their deal was. I could get in there and it could have been a damn cult for all I knew. I mean, there seems to be a lot of that in that movement. So, but there is planning to have some filming done and try to, further move in a technical direction. Due to a recent loss of equipment, I'm not going to be able to do a full sweep of that area until I can replace that equipment. But we're still going to do, visual. There's actually some people there that already have FLIR and using FLIR. So, I can basically point things in the right directions for them. And if there is something that comes up, I'll be the first one to tell everybody. This is a non-NDA study. This is mostly just visual for now. But if there's something to it, I can at least say yay or nay. I mean, they've got a lot of compelling images. I'm not a big fan of the pictures that happened when I wasn't there. Because I can show you a picture of anything and tell you where, I was, right here in the backyard, and this is a picture of, see, that's that tree. And I'm like, yeah, a couple of branches isn't going to tell me exactly what tree that was, shot over the top of, so.
Well, the problem, that's where the Experiencer Support Association could assist in some things like that too, because we are building an academy where we're trying to teach people how to get better evidence. From our perspective, there's a lot of people trying to solve these answers, but there's a lot of people that have that intent and that passion, but they don't know how, don't know a damn thing about what they're doing. So
well, if you're going to do it, use good equipment. Yep. If you're going to do it seriously, I mean, if you're just a hobbyist and you just enjoy seeing this stuff, by all means, you got my blessing to keep doing what you're doing. But somebody like me will never take a random picture serious. We will enjoy it just like everybody else. We'll take a look at it, like the duck that everybody's just freaking out about. That thing looks like a freaking. It looks like I think they figured out it was going like 15 miles an hour. I mean, that's most likely a drone with a drug carrying a drug payload over the border.
Yeah, it looked odd to me. It didn't look weird.
Yeah, it looked like a small drone with a payload, and that's literally what it looked like to me. What it actually is, unless we get amplifying information, I don't have any idea. But
even if you were able to figure out what it is, alien or not alien, you can confirm. Do you think anyone would believe? Like, how do we get that on mainstream?
We get it on mainstream with companies like myself and studies like with Avi. His project he just started with Harvard. I'm one of the associates on that, and he's reached out to a lot of the professionals in this field. So he's definitely collecting a lot of information, but his study is going to be built from the ground up, starting from nothing and working his way up, so that all of his data is just pure scientific data with the best possible devices money can buy. That's where we start. That validates the science. And then from there, companies like me going out that may not have the money for, to build a $200,000 rig. Well, we can still do good science and still contribute to that narrative.
Right. So there's two factors there too. So there's the money element. So there's the intent. Everybody wants to do it, and some of us are hindered because we can't afford it. There are hobbyists that do it because they love it. They want to know what's happened to them. Sometimes they're experiencers too, and I get that. And they want to raise money so they can get better equipment and things like that too. But does the equipment that you need to get the answers exist?
Yes.
And is it only the issue of money, or do we have to create something new?
Well, for us, we have some organizational hurdles, and then once we have those organizational hurdles taken care of, the funding will come. I'm not worried about the funding. I'm not even worried about any losses or anything that happens in the company. I'm not worried about, because I'm not stopping. I've literally told everybody on my team that this is forever. You can come and go as long as you come and go in a positive manner. You get a job at NASA and you need to go and you don't have time for this. Sure, go, no problem. Come back anytime you want. Mm-hmm. You have lack of faith and you drop us because of some bullshit. Well, I don't have room for you.
Well, that's just business. That's just management.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Too. So
this doesn't ever stop. This is never going to stop.
That's you. That's your drive. That's your mission. That's your goal. Yeah. So I'll thank you for your service. Not only in the phenomenon, but also for military service as well. So
now that being said, also I'm going to be reaching out to other people in the communities. If you're serious about doing actual research, you need to learn, like yourself. You're teaching people how to get good data. I hope they know that they need to make sure that their film can be, that there's something in the backdrop, not just a sky. Mm-hmm. There has to be GPS locations of where they were at the time when they took the picture. Mm-hmm. That's where you're standing, not where it is. And then we can actually shoot an azimuth if you have a good picture.
Exactly. And that's where we can work together, because we want to show them, because the intent, the effort, everybody knows that they can put it on the internet. But when we get to it, us are analyzing it. That's the problem. It's not, we can't use it. So we're all putting that effort in, and we want better data.
Now, I see a lot of people talking about, we need the woo and the science. And to be dead honest with you, the science will eventually run into the woo. You're absolutely right. But we don't need the woo right now. We have plenty of people doing CE5. We have plenty of people doing consciousness research. We have plenty of people running down those paths. That's just not our path. All of us have a strong interest in that on the side. None of us are particularly worried about the woo at all. Because like I said, the woo is going to be the woo regardless of whatever we do. But if we can at least prove some of the hard nut facts first, it may dispel a little bit of the woo and bring us to the next set of woo. At one time, the world being round was woo, So,
and there's still people that argue that it's not.
Sorry, that's a rough one. I'm not even going to bother to explain that one to anybody. But people around the world all agree that it's a globe. Apparently, we're not the only just flat disc in the universe.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
So okay, so the intent is there, the mission is there, the drive is there. We need the help. We need to teach all these people all these things. You need money in order to do what you're doing. So currently, at the level that you're at right now, what have you done? What are you doing now?
You got about. Let's see, what's the date today? It's the it's October.
14th.
You got until about March before I can really start talking to you about that.
Okay.
There's a movie coming out called A Tear in the Sky.
Okay.
I don't know whether I'm going to advocate it yet, but when I actually see the working version of it before it launches and they start doing some more media for it, I can actually tell you more. But once that movie is public and it's in the public domain and you get it on whatever the platform they decide to launch it on, then I can actually speak to you about that specific subject.
When you say movie, to me that word means entertainment. Like, is it a documentary?
I hope it's a documentary.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause right here. But we will be back after we get a message from our professional partners. Let me just get my thing all set. We're just going to go to commercial break here.
I did.
Also, if you're listening to this live on KPNL Radio or on a future podcast, head over to youtube.com/the Experience Your Support Association to see the video that goes with this audio. Remember, you're listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast with the Experience Your Support Association, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis, and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. And just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't